Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll be getting started in a second, but as you guys join, if you want to share your name and where you're from, that will be great. Welcome, everyone. Happy to see some of you all back. Have an exciting webinar planned for you today. If you want to share your name and where you're from in the chat, you know we love to get shout outs and to see where you guys are coming from. Hi, Diane from Atlanta. Happy to have you. We'll start the webinar in just 1 minute, just giving people time to jump on. Jasmine, thank you for joining us from Chicago.
Tennessee is in the house with Katie. Tanya's here from Georgia. Yep.
Travis from Georgia. Delaware. Sacramento. Very happy to see you guys. Hi, Leanne. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Damian from Round Rock.
Well, guys, I don't want to hold your time because we have some exciting things to get to today. I just want to welcome you all to this edition of our education series. Some of you all have joined us before. Our goal at 1MBB is to really bring the most cutting edge and innovative practices in business that are germane to business owners and entrepreneurs to you all. Again, this webinar series or education series is one of the ways we're connecting with our clients across the nation. We invite you to share the webinar, the newsletter with your friends. So with me today, and we're going to give a formal introduction to our guest speaker, but on our 1MBB team today, we have Bill Fair. Many of you have seen him in many webinars before. And today, another guest is Tracy Powell, who's on the volunteer management team for Operation Hope. So we are excited to have the three of them joining us on the back end. And I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to introduce Stephen Clift, who is our guest speaker today. Before we do, just want to remind you of our kind of format. We're going to drop the link in the chat to join 1MBB. So if you are not a member and you want to share the 1MBB information with your friends, you can click on the link that's in the chat. I think Tracy or Bill is going to drop that link. Also, again, these are our sessions to really learn. You know, we want you to be able to ask questions of Clift and of our team, of Steve and our team, Stephen and our team. So if you don't mind using the question and answer feature to drop your questions throughout the session. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy. And again, welcome. And we're so glad that you joined us.
Well, thank you all for joining us. As Corey stated, I am Tracy Powell, and I am going to introduce you to our guest speaker for today. His name is Stephen Clift, and he's 3 years into his role as the CEO of the GoodCarts startup. In his first career, he led nonprofit technology for good efforts and spoke across 35 countries. He was recognized as the White House Champion of Change by President Obama and has an Ashoka Fellow for his social entrepreneurship. We also have Lynn from GoodCarts here to answer any questions that we may have. So we say welcome, Stephen.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all today. I'm going to get right in and jump right in and show some slides off and have about 20 minutes or so when we can take questions in the middle and then take questions at the end. And also you can see who just tuned in on the video there, Marco, who's the intern with GoodCarts, has joined us as well. And let's see here, let's get my slides up. All righty. All right, so thank you, Operation Hope, for having us here today. So I'm Steve Clift. You got the brief introduction. You know, I'm the the CEO. I call myself the Chief Everything Officer of GoodCarts. And I had an entire career in the technology for good space. I actually created the world's very first election information website way back in 1994 when I was, I think, 24 or 25 years old. And I had the opportunity to basically talk about how you can use technology in your community and democracy all over the world. And it was a great time. And then 2016 happened, and the interest in using politics to honestly build bridges across differences, the kind of work that I did, nonpartisan work, the appetite for that really decreased. And so I was looking for the next big thing. And I met with this guy named Chris Dykstra. He's actually in the blue suit there. He's the founder of GoodCarts, and he has a software development company called WareCorp. And so GoodCarts has this honor, I guess, a privilege of being a startup that's being incubated within the founder's company. And Jerome Hamilton is the CEO of WareCorp. And they all, I just want to mention this as an aside, they are partners in a new fund called the Brown Venture Group that they joined. And it invests in technology-oriented startups by Black, Indigenous, and Latino founders. So a little context about GoodCarts, the company we're part of, and now I'm going to dive right into the story about how the app can help you get new customers for your online store. So one of the number one problems that stores are facing right now online is the ad costs are going up. Like less than 5 years ago, there were about 5 million advertisers worldwide on Facebook, and now they're 10 million. And so there's twice as many people bidding, and it gets more and more expensive to get to new customers through digital advertising, no matter the network. The other big giant problem is brand discovery. Now we have our heart, or we started with sort of social, shop for good, social impact oriented brands, and are expanding into various circles. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But a lot of folks have been inspired to create brands and products that make the world a slightly better place, right? You know, a more environmentally conscious version of soap, or you name the product. And they're all trying to get attention, right? And how do you get on the radar? And so that's a big problem. So we have this philosophy, we call it a grow together, win together approach. And we're starting with cross promotion. And that's what I'll give a full demo on now. So GoodCarts, what we do conceptually is we recycle the post-purchase traffic from stores. So people on store receipts basically see a little thing, and I'll show this in a moment, that encourages them to take a look at discounts. And then people pick a discount, which then sends them back to a member store. So basically, instead of giving Google, Facebook, and Amazon all your margin for a new customer, we're just recycling that extra traffic, if you will, post-checkout. All right, so who's part of GoodCarts today? Just kind of give you a little bit of a preview. 4 of our member brands here. We have Bella with on the top left-hand corner with vegan baking mixes. We have Tulia's Artisan Gallery with a lot of fair trade goods from Colombia. We have Shay Yaleen, Rama's Rights Project with products that are based on shea butter. And we have an activist fair trade coffee brand out east called Dean's Beans. So add these two to over another 120 brands. They're part of our main Shop for Good network that we've had going for actually, well, I've been with GoodCarts 3 years. So basically it went public, if you will, a year ago. And we had a beta before that. All right, so how does GoodCarts work? So imagine that you're at a store, not a GoodCarts store. GoodCarts is not a store. So imagine you're at the Save Our Planet store, and you go and you buy it. You put a T-shirt in your cart. You go pay, and you click Pay Now on a Shopify store here. All right, so this is push Pay Now, and this is what happens, right? The receipt comes up, or the purchase confirmation, same thing. And our technology inserts what we call a thank you banner right into the member store. It's very simple. It's unbranded. Stores can change the text. They can change the color of the button to match the branding if they like. They can change the text on the button. We have an extremely high click-through rate from receipts to our discount page. And so that's what powers our network. So imagine all 120 stores that I mentioned, they're all in a circle, and they're all have this banner in their receipt, encouraging people to check out the other brands in the network. So imagine you click here to choose. This is your brand discovery moment. And on this page of discounts, you have all the different choices, and you can scroll through them all. And if you click on, for example, Women's Bean Project, it would pop up and it would basically, there's a little more text at the bottom. We often say to our stores, make sure you have a very compelling image that shows off your product. Obviously, if it shows off your mission or your impact as well, that's good. But ultimately, it's showing off your product, number one. And then you can add up to 300 characters in the lower area here of text. And that basically allows you to kind of cinch the deal. Or maybe sometimes people will say it's you get $10 off if you spend 50. It might have the term saying you must spend $50 to get the $10 off. Anyway, what people do is they simply put in their email address and they say, click send me the discount. And so imagine you did that. In addition to getting an email, which is now in your mailbox, you actually then can just copy the code right there, click use your discount now, and boom, that's it, right? Like that's how simple GoodCarts is from the consumer perspective. It's just taking that moment from checkout and grabbing that traffic and feeding it back into the network. All right, so then you go on and you would shop. The other kind of way to conceptually kind of explain if someone says, what was that GoodCarts thing all about? It's kind of like a smart digital version of coupons on the back of the receipt. We are 100% online, but we're kind of that same kind of moment. You got your sale, and the question is, what normally happens with that sale? Normally, people just close that tab. And I'll go back. One thing I'll also say about this screen here. Not only is it a brand discovery moment, how would you like to reach out to stores that have either conscious consumers or are passionate about Black-owned businesses or about Made in USA, right? They're in a buying mood and their credit cards are still out. That's the kind of audience this page has. All right. So now, why would you join GoodCarts? It's free, right? That's pretty exciting. So it's free to join. The coupon views and the collections are free. The visitors to your web store are free. And now with COVID, we actually dropped our commission model. And that means that the customers are, and when you actually get a redemption, a new customer, that is also free. Now, one of the things that we are working on are some optional paid bonus features. And there'll be extra ways that you can distribute or get extra traffic. And so some things will have a fee and some things will be free as we continue to innovate. But ultimately, you're putting traffic into this network. You're going to get something back for that for free. Pretty exciting. So now what circles are on GoodCarts? So I mentioned we have our Shop for Good Sustainable Products circle. You know, the best circle for you is the one that best fits a mix of your passion, obviously your products, and your customers. And so we've actually just launched and are just launching a Black-owned circle. We've had one in the works for a number of months here, and are very excited about that. We have a Made in USA circle, which just opened about a month ago. And we have what we call a founders circle, where if you're just a small business and you're selling traditional products, and particularly if you're just primarily drop shipping, so if you're basically not, they're not your own products, or you don't have your own inventory, you're just shipping them, particularly if you're shipping them from overseas, the Founders Circle is the right place for you. So in the works, we have a vegan network, we have a D2C network. We've done a lot of work with the Gen Z community around like saying, hey, why is Gen Z just looked at as consumers to be sliced and diced? How about Gen Z as producers? So we hosted an event on May about that. And we have a lot of interest in just how do we connect people based on affinity, where the founders say, you know what, I'm passionate about sharing traffic. We also do or open to co-branded partner circles. So if someone has a relationship with a number of stores and would like to bring them in. So for example, the Fair Trade Federation, they're one of our partners, and they are seeking to develop a dedicated circle. In the meantime, most of their members have joined our general Shop for Good space, but some of the members are like, you know what, we only want to be with stores that are Fair Trade verified. So that's great, we'll support that. So Bill, I had mentioned that if there are any questions that have come in via the chat so far, I can pause now and take some. Otherwise, I can go into part 2, which is like how to get installed.
So Steve, we have a question. What if you're in multiple affinity groups, like Black-owned, Made in the US, and vegan? How does that work?
That's great. So you pick the one that makes most sense for you. Now, what I would say is It's what you call your primary circle. But then we are going to have opportunities where you could gain access to traffic from other circles. That may be a paid feature. If you, to be honest, right now, the thing you could do if you have a vegan product, you could join our Shop for Good main circle now, and then basically down the road you could switch circles. You'd have to contact us. But that would be kind of what I would recommend if you have a vegan product, because we basically, vegan products qualify for our Shop for Good circle as is, if you will. This is the sustainability factor on there. The thing I'll mention is that we have had vegan brands that have said to us, all the discounts have to be vegan. And so that's actually where the whole circle idea really was really built up, was that I want to give the vegans what they want. So just FYI on that as well.
Great. And I just want to thank Katie for that question.
Thank you,
And that's
Katie.
all we have now. If there are other questions out there, please put them in the Q&A portion, not in the chat. I'll look in the chat as well, but it's just easier to keep track of in the Q&A. So go ahead, Steve.
Perfect. And so what I'm going to go into now is just how you get set up with GoodCarts. I'll also mention that, obviously I've had this happen where people just start installing it while I'm speaking. You can certainly do that, but after this session, I'm going to have a link to a separate private Zoom for anyone who just wants to in real time get a little extra help and actually would like to set it up right now. Obviously, there's no pressure to do that. You can set up anytime you like, but at the end, if you actually would like to just kick the tires, I'll hang out with whoever shows up, and that'll be at the end. At the very end of all our Q&A and all of our discussion, not, obviously at the very, very end. Okay, so you've either searched for GoodCarts on the the Shopify App Store, or you went to goodcarts.co and you forwarded our link to the Shopify App Store. But basically, you get to the store, you can read up more about it, obviously, and you just simply click Add App. All right, so that's first step number one. And then what it'll do inside of your circle, inside of your store, right? So here's, in this case, it's a black-owned test. That's the name of a demo store. It'll load up the app right here. And so the first thing you would do is you would decide, okay, what circle do I want to be part of? And like I said, pick the one that sort of represents your store best, where you think your customers will be most passionate. I also will mention that we are also launching a BIPOC-owned circle. We need about 20 stores in a circle to sort of like really give it life. And we decided not to choose for you, but to let you choose based on what makes most sense for you. The Brown Venture Group, for example, does a lot of work with BIPOC-owned community. And so part of our strategy there is to figure out ways to be inclusive in our connections to very diverse communities as we go forward. So anyway, pick the one that makes most sense. Noting, just to be honest, like the Shop for Good one is the largest. So if you have that vibe, that's certainly a place to consider starting. We're gonna be adding others as time goes by.
Hey, Steve, just before you go, we got a question from
sure.
Jasmine, and she just wanted to confirm that a customer has to have a Shopify store to use GoodCarts. Is that correct?
So actually, no. And I mentioned we went public a year ago. We went public with Shopify, our Shopify app. But before that, we actually had technology that we built, and which we still have and continue to enhance, that allows you to participate from any e-commerce platform where you have your own domain name and where you can basically insert a little bit of code called JavaScript into your receipt. And that's what powers the showing the thank you banner. And so that includes WooCommerce, where we actually have a plugin coming out shortly, Squarespace, Magento, BigCommerce. There's all the big ones and probably many of the small ones. So if you can obviously go to goodcarts.co/join. So goodcarts.co/join, and that's where you could fill it out and sort of say what platform you're on. And definitely excited to have people come. The more the merrier. Because we focus on the Shop for Good and sort of space based on affinity, we decided it was super important to reach people with stores no matter where they are.
That's awesome, Steve. Thanks so much. I think
just
looking at some of the chat, you made Jasmine and Katie's day there. So
all right,
keep going. Didn't want to interrupt, but I thought that was an important question.
I appreciate that's very timely. Feel free to interrupt at any time, really. Okay, so the next step, and this is going to be the unified experience, whether you're on Shopify or WooCommerce or any platform, is that you go in and you're asked to create your discount. This is probably the most important step. It is basically picking a compelling image that represents either one of your best-selling products or products, right? And if it has a little vibe that kind of gives off your mission too, or your impact, that's great too. But ultimately, that brand discovery moment is also a competitive moment because consumers right now can choose one discount. In the future, we might say, oh, you didn't use your discount, choose a different one. Or you use a discount, share one with a friend. But right now, it's just simply pick the one you want most. So there's a bit of a scarcity there. So it is a competitive moment, even though it's collaborative, right? So anyway, then you upload your logo. If you have a wider logo, that's great. If it's square, it's totally fine as well. If you grab your image, you decide the discount value. And so you would say like 15% off or $20 off if you spend 100 or whatever it might be. If you decide there's a minimum purchase for a fixed amount off, then you need to set that in your Shopify or your e-commerce settings separately than just in our interface. But ultimately, it's quick and easy. We do ask this. If you typically, say you gave 10% off or 15% off for people signing up for your email newsletter, which is a typical sort of incentive people give, we have discounts that are 17% off because they give 15% off to everybody who signs up for the first time on their newsletter. The key is that with having our discount, and we put a timer on it, I'll explain that in a second, we want to have an incentive to use it. If they come to your store and go, oh, well, I can just get this deal anytime, then they have no incentive to keep digging into your site at the time. So 100 characters of compelling information about your product, but also, just a mission-oriented word or two. So if you want to say, Black owned in that, you certainly could. If you want to say sustainable, you certainly could. If you want to say, percent to charity, whatever it might be, there's things that you can do in that coupon text. But ultimately, again, product first. And then in the extended text, you get that chance to extrapolate. Please don't put the discount code in the open text. Don't put a link to your site. That people get to your site when they collect the coupon. So down, if you scroll that page down, that last bit is you assign a unique code, and that should be unique to GoodCarts, and that's whatever you want it to be. And then you set what we call an expiration date of those sorts. And the key is that the code will still work, but basically if you set it at 7, that's our default. On day 6, if the person has not used the discount, we send them a reminder email saying, hey, you have one more day to use your discount. And then you set an active date. Typically it defaults to the day you're installing the app or creating the coupon. And most stores just don't have an end date. It's a bit of a set it and forget it opportunity. We certainly encourage you to improve your discount, and I'll explain that in a moment. But you don't have to. All right, so then you would basically send it to your coupon homepage. Typically, if you unclick this button, you could send it to a special page. So we have some brands that the discount only applies to certain products. The GoodCarts collection, they called it. Another site basically says you can use the discount only on our clearance rack, and they have a direct link to the clearance section. So basically, you have that flexibility. You can decide what the discount applies to. All right, so that is actually like it. That's all you have to do. And we're going to add some things like categories of products and some other options. But right now, that's it. You're done, right? So like in 20 minutes, as long as you have a handy image ready and some thought about what you might want to put in your discount, you can be set up and running. We do moderate every store that comes through, meaning we look to see kind of what they're about. We don't allow, for example, weapons, adult mature products, and the like. And so, we do watch for that. And in our founders circle, for example, that's where, someone might apply because they're selling say an adult product of some kind. And we basically just politely say, I'm sorry, that doesn't fit in our network. Mostly because I don't think any of you, if you don't sell that kind of product, really want to send your customers to that kind of collection. So we do curate, if you will. And that's this screen here is where you actually would edit your thank you message. You can edit it at a future point as well. And then when you push next, it just takes you to the dashboard. So every time you log in from within Shopify or whatever platform you're on, this is what you see. And you have the ability to actually create more than one coupon or more than one discount. And the advantage of that is you could do everything the same, all the same text, all the same offer, but change the featured image. And so for free, you can A/B test an image, or you can do everything else the same, but change the discount slightly, or change the text. Whatever you want to do, it's a great way to learn kind of what appeals to people. And so instead of giving Facebook all your money to figure out what images work best, you could experiment for free on GoodCarts. All right.
And
The
there's,
other
Steve, there's a back end and analytics piece that I can see that image 1 worked better than image 2.
That's correct.
Track that.
Yeah. So in fact, right here you can see views.
See where that is. Yeah.
Yeah, 0, 1. So basically, the coupons will be here. You got to do the math yourself right now in terms of like, which one worked better, But basically, you can get a pretty good sense. One of the things we do say to people is that we have a I mentioned that we have a high click-through rate to get there. So once you're in the system, obviously not everyone will collect a coupon, but for those that collect a discount, we have an over 10% redemption rate, which is really good. It used to be 5. We added new images, more inventory. This is in our Shop for Good our first main circle. So if you have 10 collections, the people have given their email address, most likely have come to your store, and particularly if you get like 20 and you haven't had at least one collection or one redemption, that's when we really encourage you to update your discount, take a look at it more closely, maybe think about either what product you're promoting or promoting a product that maybe sells better, whatever it might be. That'd be a chance to optimize what you have going on. So we have some stores that have gotten like 50 plus new customers over like 8 months, which is like extreme on the high end. And others that they've gotten collections, but they haven't actually converted a sale. Now, obviously they may not have been with us as long, because we have some that their first collection was a redemption. So it really does vary. You'll certainly learn a lot about your product fit, if you will. And with a free exposure, it doesn't cost you anything as long as you're okay with growing together. It's kind of the concept, right? All right. So this is my last slide for now, and then I'm going to introduce Marco later after I have a chance to take some more questions. Again, you can go to apps.shopify.com/goodcarts. We do have a mini demo. So if you have a partner in your project, it's like a 5-minute video, which is just the first half of this. Although I understand this video here will be available. Also, if you get into the slide presentation, you can actually go experience it. And it's only open sometimes, but right now it's currently open. So from the slides, you can go in. And then if you join me in my after party, for those that want to actually just set up the app right now, I certainly can share that link. But right now, the key thing is that people earn access to GoodCarts discounts by making a purchase from one of our member stores or from your store. These coupons are not in Google. They're not designed to be searched at the last minute when someone's already ready to buy, when they happen to notice the promo code box in your store and go, oh, maybe I can get a discount somewhere. We do our best. And we actually have kept our discount codes from getting into Google or Honey and the like. I'm sure at some point it may happen, and then you'll just need to change the code. We'll watch for that. But the idea here is that we are kind of an exclusive perk that you earn. All right, so let's take on some more questions. I'll leave this up for a minute here so people can write down that URL, and then I'll show you my face full screen in a minute.
So just a reminder to everybody, put your questions in the Q&A. Don't be shy. We've got 22 of you out there want to get all your questions answered, but I just had a question for you, Steve, and that is, if I'm completely new here to GoodCarts and I've walked through and done, what are the 2 or 3 things that differentiate someone that gets more redemptions than someone who doesn't get more redemptions? You obviously have learned a lot. So what are sort of lessons learned?
Well, we get surprised, right? By different connections. So there can be some affinities that we see for whatever, Dean's Beans is one of our bigger traffic providers, the coffee brand. And people who buy coffees apparently spill their coffee, and they go to Soak It Up Cloths and buy these reusable paper towels, essentially, that you can print fun things on. And it's a pattern that we notice. So one of our goals is to do better coupon matching over time, so that as offers show some connections, we'll make it more likely there'll be collections. But short of that, right now, actually, all of our discounts are random. So you have an equal chance whether you're a small store or a big store, except for the biggest stores the day before, like 3 currently. It's going to change as we go forward, are going to be in the top 10 results, because we want to make sure that our larger stores, get as many views as possible from the smaller stores. Now, in terms of like being part of that randomness, then, if you will, it's a compelling image. Clearly, and I can mention before, showing a product image. I think it's counterintuitive, but sometimes if your discount is too high, people might think, well, maybe what's this? Why is it so high? Maybe all the prices are inflated in the first place, right? So that 15 to 20, maybe 25% sort of space. And one of the key things is to do that math in your own head, like, okay, like how much, what can I afford to get a new customer at? I mean, the whole idea is that you get a new customer and you have a discount. So obviously you're not getting as much return on that, but you have what's pretty darn golden in the e-commerce business, which is an opportunity to convert someone into a second time customer, right? But yeah, so that's kind of one key thing I'll say. And so not too many of the discounts are 10s, but some are. And I will say this too, that there are plenty of folks that will click on those because there's a mission fit. Right, so that's where you want to pay a little extra attention to that second 300 characters there, where you could say as much as you like about your brand and your background, your story. Now, we actually have on the GoodCarts site, from our Sustainable Shop for Good circle, we started a showcase, and we just launched it a couple months ago, less than 2 months ago. It's goodcarts.co/members, and so we are going to be building out ways to give sort of free exposure to our members. And one of the key things there is we actually ask you questions like about your impact story, and advice for other new founders. So it's actually, even though it's really geared toward like your peers, if you will, but ironically, we're seeing it beginning to be used as a kind of an ethical brand directories as well. And so you just see in the chat there, Lynn just shared the direct link to the members showcase.
Got it, Steve. And then Jasmine, who thank you, Jasmine, for your questions. Is asked, can this also work with an Amazon store as well?
So in that case, I don't believe so, right? Well, actually, I know it doesn't. So one of the things about Amazon, Etsy, eBay, they obviously don't allow our technology to insert ourselves into the receipt. So in that case, that would be a limitation, certainly.
Thanks for the clarity on that.
That's why you should get on Shopify and add a second store. But it is, I certainly know people who do both, right? And obviously Amazon has a lot of customers there and it can get found that way, but we certainly encourage Shopify stores as an option.
And we do too. Shopify is one of our main partners with Operation Hope and 1MBB. They are one of our major funders. Some of, Stephen, just to share a little bit, I'm going to turn my camera on. Some of the reasons why we are partnered with Shopify is you look at the research and why Black small businesses and entrepreneurs did not fare great during the pandemic is because their ability for e-commerce platform. And so the partners like Shopify and Stephen, you are really critical and important to, building that solid foundation in Black business ownership and Black entrepreneurship. So we encourage the use of any platform that you're using, but would certainly recommend Shopify as one to explore for multiple reasons. But this is another reason why Shopify might really be of a benefit to look into to, sell your products or your services through.
Now, I understand, Corey, you guys have a training program, and is there some sort of like an onboarding time frame?
Yeah, so we have tons of services through 1MBB. If you are a member of 1MBB, you have access to these educational series, but also there's an entire journey laid out for aspiring business owners and existing entrepreneurs and business owners that includes Shopify. So if you are a business owner and you would like to participate, you as a 1MBB client, you have access to 4 months free of a Shopify store. Shopify then will give you access to credit, access to capital off of your first sale. Also with the Shopify benefit, you have access to business learning. So they have opened up a whole catalog and portfolio around e-commerce and, digital marketing and that whole industry, automation, all those things are open up to you. So 1MBB now has a Shopify coach that's specific to understanding all of what Shopify can bring to you. So if you are connected to 1MBB and you have a coach, we also have an additional coach that can support you through your Shopify journey if you choose to sign up and begin to sell products and things through that. So again, you have access to 4 months free of a Shopify store as a 1MBB client. And so if you're connected with a coach, we invite you to work with your coach to activate that incentive, and then you can build in GoodCarts on the back end of that.
There you go.
Yes.
So I want your coaches to be my new best friends, because
yes.
that sounds fabulous. Honestly, we've been around the Shopify ecology for a number of years now, and joined it for many of the reasons that you described, is that it has a lot of momentum. It makes things a lot easier to get set up for the first time. But I'm not aware of any other channel where you can get 4 months of your Shopify store for free. I think the basic one is like 1 month for anybody who sets up. So that's pretty amazing opportunity.
They designed that just for our clients. So their normal is a 14-day trial, and they extended that to the 4 months for us. So that is specific to 1MBB clients.
Exactly. So that's fabulous. And I will say this, that one thing about the Shopify App Store is there are so many apps, right? And like, how do you kind of work your way through those? And one of the biggest things that stores have said to us is like, how much time does it take? Because they're really worried that they're going to be, it's going to take a lot of time to get set up. And so that's why we've been doing these demos and presentations to say, well, actually, you come hang out with me later and we'll be set up in 25 minutes, or less, right? And that's why we also did the app and have always tried to make it really quick and easy, because your time is scarce. And then obviously, some apps, lots of apps will have like a free trial or whatever, but we are really trying to do something different by basically saying, how can we grow together? One of the things we rely on from our members is your input on what more you would like it to do. So for example, we don't currently offer this feature, but stores have said to us, boy, you have all these great relationships with all these really passionate brands. Maybe you could help do matchmaking so we could do giveaways together, and that's kind of like where 5 brands will each put in a product, and then they'll do like a raffle essentially, right? And the reason they do it in part is they all want to get access to the email addresses of everyone who, let's say, signs up, and then one person or however it works will win. But then they have permission, it's opt-in, permission to email. So we might, for example, add a feature like that as an example. That came from our members. So that's one of the ways we're going to succeed with this business model wise, is by taking your awesome ideas and figuring out what things we could add that you'd still be willing to pay something for, but then will really help you win and get new customers or expand your business. So Bill, we have some more questions. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat about how do you connect to a Shopify coach? So if you are a member of 1MBB, you should have, someone should have reached out to you to connect you to a coach. If that did not happen, if you could send myself or Tracy an email, we'll get you connected to the coach. My email address is corey.kane@operationhope.org. And Tracy is tracy.powell@operationhope.org. So if you are not, you have to be a member of 1MBB to get assigned a coach. Tracy and Bill have been dropping the link to the intake survey. So you can fill that intake survey out, and you should have a coach to reach out to you to assign you to support. The other thing is, please share this if you are in networks of business owners that need support. We have tons of free resources. And again, like partnerships with Stephen and others to really help you build a solid business plan and really understand the milestones that are really pertinent to ownership. So we would love for you to reach out and connect you all with the coach.
Any other questions out there, folks? This is great. You've got, experts here. You've got Steve here, you've got Marco here, you've got Corey and Tracy from 1MBB. Now's the time to get your questions answered. I think we've answered everything in the Q&A. And Steve, you've been great with the sort of the tips on how to make a great GoodCarts, a GoodCarts ad or GoodCarts presentation even better with the imagery. And I hadn't thought about not making your discount too big, so it undermines the value of your product or service.
We have one where I think it's like 60%. I think it's mostly just on clearance items, and I'm just surprised it doesn't perform as well as it should. I would think, wow, but so it's notable. One of the things we also have is if I get the Lynn, if you can put exactly. So Lynn, I was gonna say, put out a link to our blog, and so we have like 3 fresh articles a month on how to win with e-commerce and your passion for purpose. And we have these things called the Good Guides, where it's like kind of soup to nuts advice. And we also review other Shopify apps that help you have an impact. So there's a lot of apps out there like EcoCart for carbon-free, making your purchase carbon neutral, or Daily Karma or Shopping Gives for doing percent to charity, and others, right? And so we've kind of reviewed a lot of those and really are trying to sort of, I call it the e-commerce league for justice, right? E-commerce app league for justice, but folks that are really trying to make sure that e-commerce is part of the movement to make the world a more sustainable, better place, right, for people on the planet. And so check that out. And I have one last slide to show at the end here. And obviously, if any more questions come in, that's awesome. But I wanted to just share this. Let's see here. Okay, so if you, and there's plenty of you folks that have actually stayed on for the whole webinar, which is awesome. If you honestly would like to just try it out right now, no pressure. If you want to try it out right now and you want a friend with you, go to goodcarts.co/live, and we have another Zoom link. I'll be joining there in a few minutes. And I'd be glad to, as you install it, just answer any questions as you go along. It is self-serve, if you will, for the most part, for most people. But I've done lots of these webinars, lots of these one-on-ones, and I am totally happy whether it's one of you or 10 of you. We're going to have a little after party there installing. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, so Marco joined us, and I wanted to mention that we had some great interns, Marco and Maya, over the summer, doing a lot of work for us on TikTok. So you can look up GoodCarts. GoodCarts Co. is our handle on TikTok. And we're following a lot of really interesting brands that we follow, and we've generated a little bit of experimental content. We do a lot of work on Instagram as well, networking with our member brands. And definitely Instagram. If you don't use Instagram and you're in e-commerce, definitely look at Instagram. That's where a lot of the outreach is to shoppers.
Stevie, you should have shared some of those TikTok videos in the webinar. We would love to see some of those.
Well, they're from an organization. They're not as fun, but as if you will. But the interns did a great job, of experimenting with. I don't know if we can actually play them. I'm not logged in right now.
I was gonna say I would love to see one if you have one.
Well, let's see here. Let's do. I think this is. We'll do this one here. Could you guys hear the audio on that?
We could not.
Oh, you could. Well, it was great. It was Marco's voice, who's now on the video here. And great job on that, Marco. Actually one that I hadn't seen. So I'm super jazzed about that. That is great. So here's the deal. So we've decided with GoodCarts to open up an additional intern position that's going to focus exclusively on helping us do outreach to the Black-owned businesses, and also maybe do a little dabbling with our TikTok and the like. So, I asked Marco to join us just for a minute to just kind of give answer a few questions from me about what he does. And so let me stop my share here, and I just got to find my screen is floating around here. There it is. Stop share. All right. So Marco, I'm putting you on the hot seat here. So tell me, Marco, what do you do as part of your GoodCarts internship?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'll have to be a little quiet now. I'm in the library. Just got done with class, but before I get into, I just want to say like where I go. I'm a senior at Augsburg University here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I'm currently a senior and I'm majoring in marketing and minoring in international business. And then just a couple of things that I've done here at GoodCarts during my time. One of my main projects was actually, like you guys just saw there, was actually explore TikTok and be able to see if we could grow through TikTok and kind of experiment while also creating content and also doing a lot of outreach via TikTok. And part of that too, it's not only did I just do a lot of TikTok work, but I also did a lot of work throughout the company, such as creating ad images and also editing and kind of reviewing blog posts that are being published by GoodCarts. And one thing that I just got done doing was also like you saw was do the Made in America, Made in USA circle. And again, we're trying to get into the Black owned circles here pretty soon. That's what we need
That's
a little
great,
bit of help
Marco.
on. So
Marco,
yeah,
you did a great job. Last question is, do you recommend it? Do you think it's a good opportunity to explore?
yeah, of course. I really enjoyed my time. This role was only for the summer, but I enjoyed it so much I extended it on to the fall.
Exactly. We offered for him to continue on because he's done such a fabulous job. Both he and Maya have been great to work with, and it's really sort of the future generation here on impact via e-commerce and marketing. So we're going to do at goodcarts.co. We haven't yet posted this position. I'm actually talking to folks at Operation Hope about spreading the word through your networks as well. But basically, we will be looking for someone who's a student, who's still in school, so we can have them work with us over 20 weeks, about 10 hours a week. So stay tuned for that. And I just thank you guys for the opportunity to present the internship opportunity as part of my presentation today.
Yeah, we are super excited for this partnership, Stephen, and thank you, Marco, for joining, giving us a little insight into your experience. And all of the participants, we are more than grateful for you to spend this hour with us learning. I mentioned in the chat that we love learning with you all as much. Again, our commitment is to bring the most innovative, up-to-date information to you. And this is certainly an innovation that can really boost your e-commerce business. This presentation will be available after this session. We're going to send it out via the 1MBB newsletter. So if you are not enrolled in the 1MBB newsletter, please subscribe. I think that link went out in the chat and Tracy can drop it in again. But we are more than grateful for you, Stephen and Marco, for taking your time today to share this exciting innovation with us. And again, thanks, Bill, for dropping that link in the chat. If you click the link to the webinar and to the newsletter, and you go up to the top left corner, there's a subscribe button. So if you are not already a member or subscribe to the newsletter, please do. We'll be sharing, again, this presentation as well as this webinar there. And if you want to join Steve and Marco in the after party to really set up the GoodCarts integration into your Shopify store, please click there. I think they'll be joining or going over there in a few minutes. There might be already a member there to greet you guys. So that is in the chat. So if you can, all the links that you need are in the chat. And again, thank you, Tracy and Bill, for joining us. We are, again, very excited to have you. Our next webinar will be towards the end of the month. We are a new partner called Debt MD. We'll be talking about how to reduce your personal debt and to benefit your company. So we look forward to having you there. Please share that webinar information with your friends and colleagues and networks of business owners. We want you all to be very successful and have all the information you need to thrive. So again, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more information with you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all. Go to the after party. Don't miss it.
Yes,
Take good
I
care,
think there
guys.
might be
And
some
feel free
TikTok
to take
dancing over there.
Exactly. And take 5 minutes if you need to go get a refreshment or something. That's just fine. We'll be there for an hour. So, okay.
Thanks, all.
Lynn mentioned that Steve might do some dancing for their next TikTok video.
Is
so.
that right? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm ready to move. Let's go.
All right, take care, guys.
You
Thanks, all.
have to point at stuff. You got to like work your way down the screen. All right. See ya.
Yes.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.